Do I sound okay to you?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, nice.
All right, let's take a crack at it.
Let's do it, dude. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man. It's been how long at this point?
Years, I think. I couldn't tell you last time. I couldn't tell you last time that I think I saw you in person. It was probably when we were playing basketball. Would be my be my
Probably.
guess.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I bet it was.
yeah. We go hoop all the time.
It's crazy to me how the days are starting to turn into months, and the months are turning into years, and the years are turning into more years.
Dude, it's funny you say that. I don't when I think about like going through my like day to day at this point, especially with work, I don't really think about it day to day anymore. I think about it as like month to month, like okay, I gotta like get through this month and this month and this month.
Uh,
Like just start think about it like that because especially when it comes to finances, it's like
mhm.
monthly the monthly side of things is like, yeah, well, I gotta do this every month. So it just kind of changes as you get older, I guess.
Yeah, I got on that similar frame of thought too. I believe it was Mike Tyson I saw, and he said to live life 1 month at a time. And
Yeah,
it
I
seems
like
like
that.
he's been successful with that.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's straight shooter, dude. So I mean, I don't think that it's just anything other than like like if you try to go further than that, then you're reaching just a little bit. Um, I mean, truthfully, it's like I could sit here and be like, yeah, well, I'm gonna do this in not January. I'm gonna do this in July, but July's who knows what's gonna actually happen in July,
Mm,
but next month is like, okay, well, next month's May. I'm gonna have to do this, this, and this in May. It's right there, but I have no clue what's happening in July. So
yeah, exactly. I
that's
feel
just
like
my
that's
call,
a.
stuff like that.
Do you think that's a good quality to have, adaptability, to kind of live life with that open frame of mind, being able to just adjust on the fly, or are you more like structured out?
I think that both are really important. And if you're not able to adapt on the fly, you're probably not going to make it very far just
Mm,
because things happen. Like last month, car breaks down, uh, have to drop a lot of money on the car. You got to adapt to those things. But in the same sense, like from a standpoint, like you kind of got to prepare for those things to the structural side, where it's like, okay, well, how can I set myself up in a position where if these things that aren't really supposed to go to plan, they happen and I'll be okay. And that's actually one of the beautiful parts about having a woman in your life is like men are really good and like this is just kind of like a really broad statement, but men are really good at on the fly adapting, like making a decision, like kind of just being really conscious of like, boom, okay, this is what we need to do. But women, on the other hand, are really good at structurally planning things out months in advance. So one of the reasons why women are such great receptionists, not saying that men wouldn't be, but women have a capability that men do not have to be able to really like, okay, well, you're doing this on this day, this on this day, this on this day. And that's just a work setting. I can use my wife, for example. I don't know how she does it, but she's very capable of putting together grocery runs with every single ingredient for food for the next 2 weeks, meals for the next 2 weeks. I
yeah,
could, I could never, I could never do that. I'd just be like trying to be like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm eating today, but we'll figure it out. Where she is phenomenally skilled at being able to plan these things out for far in advance.
that's interesting you say that. I'm curious to know from your perspective, how do you feel like your life has improved since you got married and became a part of a team like that?
Improved. I think that well, first of all, it's like I can't imagine living my life without Emma, which is some of the reason why you get married. As far as improvement goes, with like, I mean, as simple as I can say it, Emma's good at everything that I'm not good at. So, and kind of vice versa. So, like that example that I just used, as far as like structurally being able to kind of put things together on a day-to-day basis, as far as food and as far as like what is going to be happening over the next week, like that totally helps me. That helps me operate. That helps me, you know, kind of stay on a path where it's easy. Like whereas when I was single, it was just kind of, I'm gonna go do whatever I want, and it might work out, might not work out. Whereas now, like there's just more structure to it. I think that's been one of the major improvements. It's just like my life has more structure, and you just want to act, kind of be like a normal citizen, like a functioning member of society, in a sense of like go to work and try to do well for yourself and make money and do well for yourself and your family. And but there's also other things around that. But I think just she's good at everything that I suck at. Honestly, that is the most simple answer that I could give you.
Yeah. I feel like being in a relationship has helped me become less selfish. There's someone else that relies on me to show up every day and do my best. So I agree with you. It's a lot more structured, and I feel like it's helped me and my ceiling just rise as far as what I'm capable of.
Totally, yeah, and that's a great point as well. It's just you got to do things that maybe you wouldn't want to do typically, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what you do, what you want to do, and what you don't want to do. Like there's a difference between doing what's right and doing what's easy.
Yes.
And it could not be more applicable than in a relationship. Like I get home from a long day of work, I just want to sit in my butt and do nothing. But if Emma's going to cook, I need to help her in some way. Like if that's cleaning, if that's whatever that is, like there's that selfless part that if there's not, sacrifice, then the relationship it's not going to flourish.
Beautifully said. You're dropping gems just right off the bat.
I don't know about that. I'm still trying to learn. I'm not, I've done well in areas, I've done not well in other areas. So, just every day.
Was that the opening sequence that you had planned? Just drop marriage bombs?
No, no, not necessarily. I've only been married for, what's today? Today is the 6th, almost 10 months. Here coming up in about a week and a half ish. So yeah, I'm a baby in marriage, but just learning as much as I can. Yeah.
We're still kind of children in life in some ways. We're in our mid-20s, but there's still so much that we don't know. I would imagine you don't know what you don't know.
Totally. Yeah, I think that I was talking to one of my managers about this the other day at work because I had a deal. I live in Kansas City, and if anybody listens to this who's in Kansas City and lives in a similar area that I do, the mail has been behind for like months. So I moved up here in October, and I did not get certain bills in the mail for months. So, and that was like a Kansas City wide thing with the Kansas City mailing department. So I was way behind on bills, and the way that I described that is me just being a brand new adult because there are multiple ways to pay bills, but like I'm waiting for the bill to show up in the mail, but I don't have to do that. So, like we got them all paid off, obviously, but like I was so behind because I'm just sitting here waiting. It's like, well, I'm a brand new adult, so like that's like a funny term to use, but it's like, yeah, no, you just got to figure it out. There are other ways to do it, and and you just got to be resourceful.
Checking the mail becomes less fun as an adult as well.
I dread walking to the mail because I know there's bad news in there every time I go look.
Yeah, that's like going to the doctor for me. It's like they can only tell me bad news, essentially. If I'm just
Oh, you're so right. It's like you go out there, like just kind of like slow walk, like if I don't go look at the mail, then what's gonna happen?
Occasionally I'll get a card or something from grandma thrown in there, but for the most part, it's junk mail, like catalogs for Wendy's or Hardee's or something, and just bills.
Keep those Wendy's ones, man.
Are you a Wendy's fan?
Well, I don't know if I'm much of a Wendy's fan, but Wendy's has the best deal for any fast food. Their $5 big bag is the best fast food deal for any fast food by a long shot.
A lot of bang for the buck. What comes in it?
It's been a while since I had it, but last time it was you get a burger, you get like 4 nuggets, you get fries, and then you get a medium drink for $5.
Okay. How is it possible to make that for $5 and make a profit on it? Tell me.
The chicken nuggets cost 10 cents to make per nugget. The burger also is probably 20 cents. And the most expensive thing on that whole thing to like operate and sell would be the drink for sure.
Which is still not expensive either.
Yeah, I'm sure that the drink has the lowest profit margin just because like I get a Powerade, but Powerade's working with Wendy's. I'm sure that margin is like this compared to me getting a burger, and the margin's like probably like this big on a burger compared to the drink. I don't know how that works, but that would be my assumption.
And it's somebody's job out there to analyze those margins and
I know.
keep it all straight. That's crazy to me.
You got to adjust and see what works and see what doesn't. But at the end of the day, man, it's all about sales. The margins, they matter, but if you sell a lot, then the margins matter less if people are buying the product. So $5 biggie bag, go get it. That's the best deal that's the best fast food deal on the market.
I don't know how we ended up talking about Wendy's, but I do remember seeing something recently about them increasing the price during peak business hours or something like that, where it'd be like Uber, where if it's late on Friday night, it's more expensive.
Every company essentially does that. Like even living here in Kansas City, like Kansas City Water, you lived in Kansas City for quite some time as well.
Yeah.
Like, man, if I want to run my dishwasher or if I want to take a shower or run my laundry, it is more expensive to run from 3:30 in the afternoon to 8 o'clock at night. They upcharge it at that point in time because when people are home. So that's kind of everything.
I didn't know they did that. Really? The water company does that? It's kind of smart on their end.
Every company does it, man. The gas company does it. The energy company does it. Water does it. And it shows you on when you get it in the mail as well, like what hours of the day are more expensive. So me and Emma have been very intentional about like whenever we do run our dishwasher, like it's a day that we both work from home and it's like at 11 a.m. or same thing with laundry to try to, I don't know if it makes that much of a difference, but at the end of the month at night, I'd rather pay $85 in a bill than I would pay 125.
Yeah, that matters. That adds up.
So, but it's everything.
Okay, that's interesting. You're teaching me things today.
It's just things I noticed. Emma's kind of a wizard about stuff like that. So I've learned a lot from her in regards to kind of keeping things like cheaper. So which is good.
Yeah, I think that is a uniquely female trait too, to understand the resources available and where to put them when.
Right. And something else that like I've noticed as you get older, unless it like people who like make a really large sum of money, they don't spend a lot of money. And if they do spend money, they spend it kind of wisely. So unless if somebody's making more money than you can shake a stick at, it just doesn't really matter. Like, okay, well, here's 2 exact same cereals at Walmart. This one is name brand and it's $5.50, and this one is not. It's a great value brand and it's $3.50. Why not get the $3.50 one? Like that's something that Emma's taught me. It's just like not all wealthy people do that, but people who retain their money better and they'll pick things that are cheaper, and it doesn't really matter too much necessarily. It might to some people, but it doesn't really matter to me at this point. So it's just interesting, Emma's family, that's how Emma grew up, and they did fine. And it's been kind of an adjustment for us as well, adjustment for me. And I've enjoyed learning kind of more so how to do that.
Yeah, I was living life for a while, just no budget, no information regarding numbers coming in, numbers going out, just not having a budget or a spreadsheet or any way to keep track of anything numbers wise financially. And I was wondering why I was still broke. And I think that's just with time. These skills just click eventually, but it sure takes a while.
Yeah. And it's important and to see what is being spent on, and like it's all new stuff, so but yeah. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of what you've been doing recently, what you've been up to? You got the dogs. How are the dogs?
The dogs are good. They're not going outside in the neighborhood as much because there are so many other dogs and people out there that they can get a little reactive. So just learning, like, okay, take them out late at night, early in the morning. That just works better for everyone involved. So,
are they territorial?
Yes, they're bark at the doorbell, that type, barking.
Yeah. Totally, I get it. And you have German Shepherd, if I remember correctly, and then you have another dog that you got not too long ago, right?
Yeah.
And what's the other dog's name?
Milo, also a German Shepherd. So I have two of them.
Oh yeah, they're ready to rock and roll. Then they sit there, stare at the door.
Oh yeah, we're strapped up in this house. Dude, the weirdest thing happened to me yesterday, and I just don't know what to think of it. But you mentioned the dog, so I will bring it up.
Okay.
I get a knock at the door, and of course, I was sitting outside on my little patio area out here, but I hear the dogs barking. So I come inside and I see just two people at my front door, strangers. One is a guy wearing a tie, nice clothing. The other's another girl. And the guy's holding just a random Lysol can. So I open the door, just kind of peek my head out and say, hi, see what they want. And the guy says, we're running a cleaning service, essentially. And it was confusing to me. And looking back on it, I feel like that's why my high alert kind of started coming on. He said, we're a cleaning service. We're offering free Lysol rolls of wipes to people who let us test out our product. So I said, okay, that's nice of you. Free Lysol thing. I'll take it. Sure, I'll test your product. So they get their phones out and they say, all right, well, we just have to call our boss. He drove away, but he'll be back and then he can get us the products. So they're calling this supposed boss on the phone saying, hey, we have somebody and can you come back to his driveway? So they hang up. The boss is apparently coming, but he's taking forever. I stood outside in my driveway with these people for like 5 minutes, just kind of awkwardly making small talk. Then the boss pulls up and the guy in the tie who was standing in the driveway with me goes, oh, don't mind the creepy old van. I wish we drove something different. So I'm already like, why would you even say that? Now you're going to really creep me out. Right. You're trying to sell me something? Okay.
Yeah.
So this beat up old gold van pulls up in my driveway and this guy gets out of the driver's seat, immediately comes up to me, shakes my hand, introduces himself and goes, you a cop? I said, no, what? Why would you ask that? He said, oh, you just look like a cop. So I'm like, what? I'm wondering in my mind, what does that mean? Is that a compliment? Is that an insult? I look like a cop. I was just dressed in a sweatshirt and shorts. So as I'm talking to this guy, trying to figure out that comment, these two workers are in the trunk of the van and they pull out these just shoe boxes, like purple shoebox looking things.
Okay.
And they start walking up my driveway. And I'm wondering why they're approaching my door. So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, did you have to like come inside to test your product out?
Don't tell me to go inside.
And they're like, yeah, we have to come inside and like clean inside your house. So I'm like, that's a bad idea. I have 2 dogs in there and they will not be happy about that. You guys can't come in. Sorry.
Yeah.
So then they're like, oh, okay, bye. And they just go and get back in their van. So yeah. So
like point blank, like they can't come inside. It's over. Sales done. Like we're out of here.
So I go back inside and I was kind of creeped out at this point because I didn't know what to think of the situation. So I grabbed the kitchen knife and just like put it in my sweatshirt just in case. And then I went and started doing something else. And I hear the doorbell ring again. So I'm like, oh, what is this about to be? They better not be there.
Yeah.
And it's just the girl at my doorstep.
Okay.
I open the door and she says, hey, can we actually get that roll of Lysol wipes back so we can try to give it to someone else? So I said, yeah, sure. Went and grabbed their Lysol wipes and gave it back to this girl, and then they just left again.
That's insane. What kind of operation is that?
It was either a setup, like they were trying to rob me, or it was just the worst run business I've ever seen.
That is crazy, dude. I've never heard of anything like that. That's nuts. Wow. Well, good thing those people did not come in your house because your dogs would have not liked that. But honestly, that might have been a really good situation in the sense of like if for some reason they did come in and they did have bad intentions, that you would be really grateful that you did have those dogs around. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So that's nuts, dude. I used to door knock a lot when I was selling real estate and go door to door, but that's wild. I've never heard of that. Anything like that happening. The fact they came back and asked for their product too is nuts.
Yeah, ask for the free thing back.
Yeah, that's insane. I would have been like, kick rocks with open-toed shoes, dude. Get out of here. Get off my property. Like, this is insane. What's wrong with you people?
Is that how you would approach door-to-door sales? Is that a good tactic?
No, actually, now that you say it, maybe it's not as bad as you think because you'll never forget that. Now, in the sense of, yeah, that sounds like a pretty horrible business, actually, maybe the worst business approach I've ever heard, truthfully. But they left an impression.
That's for sure. I don't know their name or any contact info, which is probably a good thing. Because
you know their business name, like their company name?
No, not.
Yeah, that's not a good run then.
Yeah, that's just random strangers creeping me out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. Wow, what a good story.
I just randomly remembered it because you brought up the dogs, and I was like, oh yeah, they about had to hold it down at the house yesterday. You have the dog too, right? And you're training him.
Cooper, I have a black lab. If I was ever in a situation like that, my dog would not. He would not protect me. He would just make friends with them. He'd just be like, he'd go over. He's a great dog, but he's a black lab, and they're just the nicest dogs ever. So if I was on the ground, like simply put, like I believe if you were hanging off a cliff, Ty, and your dogs were right there, and they could either save you or there was a big stake on the ground right beside them, just the way German Shepherds are. I would assume that your dog would actually probably try to save you in some way. My dog, if I'm hanging off the cliff and there's a stake on the ground, I'm over. I'm done. I'm falling. That stake is going down immediately. There's absolutely nothing stopping that dog from eating that sirloin instead of saving my life.
So the puppy that I got, he's black lab mixed with German Shepherd, and he's a lot more friendly.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And we got him fixed, but our other full breed German Shepherd is not fixed, so he's always walking around like the Hulk. But
Yeah.
the
Dominating.
other one's very sweet.
Yeah. Just got a little bit more of that. Let's be friends instead of, okay, I'm going to protect you, stand behind me type of vibe from the dog.
Yeah, they're more goofy as well.
Totally. I had a moment with Cooper this morning. I named my dog Cooper after Cooper Kupp because I'm a Rams fan. Yeah, he's just going nuts, dude. He's not fixed. He's almost 2 years old, and he's just a madman, like running around. So, yeah, he was just jumping on everything. Yeah, he had a come to Jesus moment with me this morning. Calm down, please. But yeah, man.
We're very old Rams fans, going back to the days of when it was very hard to be a Rams fan. It's cool.
Yeah, I can't believe that I liked the Rams. It's same with you. Like I remember, like I didn't like the Rams for as long as you did because me and Ty grew up together, and Ty's a couple years older than I am, and Ty always liked the Rams, but I didn't really get into the Rams until probably 2013 ish would be my guess, and at that point, just they were so bad, so bad. Like I can't believe that we would sit there and watch them and just like have hope. Like I remember a handful of times after Rams games that we would talk to each other and you'd just be like, dude, Steven Jackson's the best thing that has ever happened in my life as being a professional sports fan. Besides that, it's been like a horrible experience.
They had so much potential back in the day too. They had those guys, Sam Bradford, Chris Long. It's actually about it, but they had those two.
Hey, an underrated Rams player who is one of the best Rams players in the history of the franchise is Johnny Hekker, the punter for the Rams. Because I remember during the stretch when the Rams were horrible, and Johnny was actually part of the St. Louis and the LA Rams, but there was a good point in time from 2015 to 2019-ish before they kind of got to a point where they're good, like McVay's first year, where Johnny was the best player on the team solely for the reason that the offense was horrible and he could flip the field better than any punter in the NFL. So the defense was just good enough to give us a chance to win the game. So that was why Giannis was so important to the Rams, was because he could flip the field really well. So we'd go 3 and out immediately on our 20-yard line, but Johnny would pin him back inside their own 20 and give the defense a chance to actually play and make a stop because they were good enough to do that. So shout out to Johnny Hekker because he was the best player on the Rams for a long time. If we didn't have him, we would have been in a lot of trouble. I do mean that.
Shout out to Johnny. Yeah, for sure. Is he still around?
He punted last year for the Panthers. He's from South Carolina, so I don't. He's not with the Rams anymore, but he was with the Panthers last year, just kind of like on his retirement tour, like that's where he's from. He wanted to play there, but yeah, weird thing to be passionate about. Johnny Hekker, the punter, guy was a stud. Guy was a stud.
Hey, so, and that's harder to do than you think. I don't know if you've ever just gotten a football, I'm sure you have in your long football career, and just actually tried to punt, like really do it as best as you can. It's not as easy as they make it look.
No, and they hit that ball so hard, and it goes so high in the air, and it goes a long ways, and they can do different things with the ball, like how it spins and how it's going to rotate, if it's going to go nose down, what that's going to do, if it's going to land flat, and it's going to pop straight up. Like they have complete control over the football and the way that it's going to bounce off the ground. It's amazing. And Johnny was one of the few guys as well with the Rams that there were points in time where Johnny Hekker was the best quarterback on the Rams as well, where like he would get us that, like we'd have a trick play and you would take it down. I'm sure the teams had to really prep for playing against the Rams special teams because of how versatile Johnny was, not just as a punter, but as a passer as well, which is crazy to say.
I wonder why more teams don't use rugby players as punters, like really fast, strong rugby players, because they kick the ball a lot in rugby, don't they?
I think so. Did you see the Chiefs just signed a rugby player, but he's a running back? They signed a guy, I don't remember his name, but they signed a player the Chiefs did like a week and a half ago who has a rugby career, but they signed him as a running back.
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up, because you're talking about fake punts, and I'm just wondering, why wouldn't you just get a super fast jacked guy also as your punter so that you could run like, punt option, punt it if you want, but if you have the chance to run it, take it.
Yeah, I mean, just at least give you that option to, do that. But then there's also the sense of, like if you're gonna go for it, just leave the offense out there, which makes a ton of sense as well. Because if you got somebody who's athletic, and this is just from a business standpoint as well, if you got somebody who's athletic at punter, you have to overpay them because they're athletic. Or if you have somebody like, I don't know, like a really good quarterback in the NFL, like a Pat Mahomes type, or even like, you could even go as far like Jalen Hurts, where if there's 2 yards and you're going to go for it, just leave the offense out there and let the guys who get paid a lot of money to move the football do that. So from a business standpoint, I could totally see why you just get somebody who can kick the football, but it would be nice to have that option as well.
But we have to think about it. We're the agents for these guys now. So this is how we create the punter revolution. This is how we get the punters to be 10 million type guys. We say, okay, you have to be able to run as well, and you have to be amazing at quarterback. So basically you have to be Taysom Hill, but you also have to be able to kick it 60 yards. Then we can make you a lot of money.
So Johnny Heckler.
Let's go to him with this idea and say, look, I know you're about to retire, but trust me, we can just get you to be a running back as well. This would really work.
There's a market for you, buddy. There's a market for you. You're unlike anything they've ever seen. That's so funny. Townsend for the Chiefs was pretty good. I know that the Raiders had a guy, Marquette King, a while ago. Pat McAfee was obviously he's a legend, but he was pretty athletic too. There's just a handful of guys that you go out there and they're ballers, so they're all good athletes.
Oh yeah, even somebody who's out there, the long snapper, just somebody who doesn't look like they're an absolutely amazing athlete. They absolutely are. Same with NBA players as well. Even the worst of them is just 200 times better than your average Joe.
This is a hot take. I actually think that basketball players in the NBA are the best athletes on the planet, which is like a weird take. But I don't know, man. I went to a couple. My freshman year of college, I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I got to go watch Giannis play maybe 5 games. And this was when he was really on his MVP run. I've never seen anything like that, like my whole life. Like watching somebody like Giannis do what Giannis can do and just be. And he's kind of, an anomaly to a certain degree, but there's a lot of guys like that in basketball to this point. Like LeBron, obviously, is the same. Joel Embiid. Like, dude, can you imagine if Joel Embiid weighed 325 pounds and played left tackle? Good grief, dude. Like, nobody's getting by him. Like, he's huge, and he's a freak athlete. He's fast. He's quick. He's got good footwork. Like, same thing with Giannis. Imagine Giannis playing like tight end or even like an edge rusher. Imagine that's insane. So I don't know. I just think that those guys who play basketball physically, I don't know, but like their bodies are meant for basketball. But they're just freaky athletes, man. Like footwork's good. They're coordinated. They're fast. They cover a ton of ground. I don't know. I'm not saying that those guys who are pro football players don't do that also, but basketball is just such a confined space compared to a football field that the way that they move is really impressive to me.
The difference in human genetics is very interesting to me. Like, how can there be somebody like a Giannis who's 7 foot tall, 0% body fat, fast, and there's also just like, do you get what I'm saying? It's just wild to me. Like, how do those people exist while there's also just everybody else who's just normal?
Yeah. God. That's it. I don't have a better answer for you than that. Like, unless it's like, okay, well, Shaq's going to have a baby with somebody. Doesn't really matter who. Those are going to be tall kids. Same thing with LeBron. LeBron's kids are tall. They're not super tall, but it's just a good gene pool. But besides that, like, man, it's just kind of just God being like, all right, he's going to be a tall person. And he's going to go play basketball, or he's going to go do this. And that's that. Not a good if, and, or but about it.
For sure. Blessed.
Blessed. That's right. What do you got going on for the rest of the day, rest of the week? What's the plan?
So today, I'm moving out of this house that I'm in right now, and there's new renters coming in next month.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And they're coming to see the house today. So I got to do some cleaning, get everything in shape for them, and then just working. And that's about it. What about you?
Today, Saturday, cleaning a little bit. Nothing super crazy. You know what you should do? You should take the Step Brothers route and just like remember in Step Brothers whenever they're trying to sell the parents' house and they're like doing like the worst things, like they have like they're acting like their neighbors are like Nazis and they're like, you know, like doing crazy stuff. There's the dead body in the house. We're like, I'm sorry guys, I swear this like never happens. One of the best movie scenes ever.
That is a great movie. It really is.
All right, Ty. Well, I was thinking of something yesterday, and I was texting you about it because I thought that this was hilarious. So, I want to get your thoughts and opinions on this. So, I have a segment. I don't know when the next time I'll come on your podcast will be, if I do, but if I do, we should continue this. This segment is called Bottomless Mimosas.
Okay. Bottomless Mimosas. Let's hear it.
Okay. So what this segment is Bottomless Mimosas is I'm going to give you a genre, a character, somebody, a group of people, and from this group of people, you have to tell me out of this group of people who you would pick to go get bottomless mimosas with and why.
Ah, that's a good one. Okay.
So I have 3 sections for you. If you had to go get bottomless mimosas with any cartoon character ever, who would it be and why?
Ooh. That's a good question. Let me give it a little bit of thought.
It's kind of on the spot, so.
Maybe Rick and Morty. I feel like that would just be fun.
What would you guys do?
Probably drink bottomless mimosas, get in the spaceship, drive around. I feel like that would lead to the most fun outcome.
Morty, here are the keys. Go pull the car around. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. The next genre would be bottomless mimosas with any character from Harry Potter.
Ooh. I feel like it would be hard to not say Harry in this situation.
Of course, he's the chosen one.
But a lot of other names also popped into my mind. Like Hagrid popped into my mind. I think that would be hilarious.
Yeah.
I might change my answer to Hagrid, actually, because wandering through that big forest, maybe you could like snap up some, I don't know what animals lived out there that we could interact with.
Many. They love all that. They all love Hagrid. That'd be an adventure for sure. After a couple mimosas, that'd be a blast.
I agree. What would your answer be?
Who would mine be? Dobby. I feel like Dobby would be like so funny to go. Like we'd be like sitting at like the table and be like, he'd be like, Dobby would be like, Master, would you like another bottomless mimosa? Here are your keys. We're gonna go for a drive after this, but Dobby will protect you.
Dobby would be absolutely hammered too. He's so small, he would just have zero tolerance. So he'd be that friend that's just absolutely trashed right off the bat.
And he would just, I feel like he'd be like hilarious. Like he'd be like, Master Isaiah, watch this. Snap his fingers, and then like the person who's got a mimosa like behind him, like it goes out of their hands and they're like dumps on their head. He's like, he starts laughing. You know what I mean? Like he'd just be a jokester the whole time.
You go in the bathroom to pee and you see him in there just doing a line of coke. You're like, Dobby, what?
He like snaps his fingers, you're in the stall, and he just like shows up and you're like, Dobby, get out of here. What are you doing?
Dude, what made you think of that? That's so random.
I don't know, man. Honestly, I was working out yesterday when I texted you, and I was like, what would be something funny to talk about with Ty? It's like, that'd be funny. And then I texted you about Harry Potter. It's like, are you familiar with Harry Potter? So, no, I just thought it was hilarious. And it was like, okay, well, if you could go and do this with somebody who.
That's a good segment.
It's stupid, but it's just funny. Like, it's funny to think about it.
I like it. And by the way, you will come back on, man. I hope you have enjoyed the experience. It's a little weird talking to people over a screen, but it's still better than not talking at all.
Dude, I'd love to come back on. I more than anything, I just love getting to talk to you and getting to catch up with you. It's always fun. We always have great conversation.
For sure.
Come back on. So, all right. Well, I have one more funny question for you, I guess. If there was like a word that you could create and you had to give the word a definition to, what would that word be and what would the definition
be? It's called the Kerschflunkel, and it's when you have an amazing conversation like this one. We're kerflunkled.
Just leave the conversation. Yeah, it was kerflunkled conversation.
Isaiah and I kerflunkled this morning, and then I went and mopped the floor, and yeah.
Sounds dirty.
I'm thinking it's like a German pretzel or something. It could also be that. Yeah.
It's true. In the English language, it can mean both.
It's like a bratwurst, maybe.
But it's a kerflunkel.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah. That's awesome.
Dude, that's easily the most random question I've ever been asked in my life.
It's weird to think about, dude. It's like, who made these words, and why did they get to make them? Why can I not make a word?
Exactly. I mean, anybody could make a word, right? If you just started saying stuff, and then everyone around you is like, "Hey, that sounds kind of cool. I'm going to start saying it."
Yeah. I mean, you just did. Kerflunkel.
Put it in the dictionary now.
It's got to go. Like it's there. It was just made. That's awesome.
That is weird though, and there's so many different languages with so many different words. How did it happen from we're just making noises with our mouth?
I couldn't tell you, man. Me and my wife we're reading the Bible in a year, like in chronological order. There's a book, and that is something that I've thought to myself right now. We just finished the story of Joshua leading the Israelites into the Holy Land, where God has promised Moses the land, his land, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that God made the promise with. And during this time, whenever Moses is taking the Israelites and they get out of Egypt, and then that transition period when Moses goes and he passes away, and then Joshua is the one who kind of takes the reins and starts to, conquer over the Holy Land. I just am so like amazed by how many different types of people there are, and how they did communicate, because I can't imagine that they all spoke the same language. I don't know. That's something I've definitely thought of as well. It's like, how did these people really communicate well with each other if, they were native and they spoke different languages? I don't know. It's amazing to think about.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring that up. Last night I was on my ancestry.com and it has a breakdown. I'm whatever percent German, Swedish, just gave the list of different things. So I copy and pasted all those results into Chat GPT, and I said, give me an idea of who my ancestors were and what they would have been doing. And it's interesting to think about, because people like you and me of our skin tone, just think about how we got here. It's all just migration across these different countries. And that people have been doing that forever and ever and ever.
Long time. Yeah, it's amazing. What did it end up saying? Do you have that?
Yeah, it was mostly German, but also some Swedish, Wales, like UK, Scottish, basically just like as European as it gets.
Yeah. When you asked the Chat GP that question, how did it answer? What did it say?
Oh, like that some of my ancestors would have been Germanic tribe members, like interacting with the Roman Empire, and then some would have been Vikings, just like people from that area, but also Jews on my grandmother's side. Like they lived in Poland, that type of area. So it's not something that I'd really thought about a lot. Like, who did I come from? What were those people actually doing?
Totally. Yeah, and I think it's interesting as well, and that's really cool, by the way. I think my sister's done something like that, like with ancestry.com. I haven't asked her too much about it. I should. But there are like certain people who know a ton about their family lineage, and then I don't know a ton about mine. Sounds like those are steps that you're taking. But like my wife's family, they know a ton about their family lineage. So it's really interesting to get to listen to them talk about it, and honestly, just like get really proud of it. So, and if you don't share those stories, then nobody will ever know. And I've talked to my wife's grandpa about that. He's like, he's just they're really proud. Him, his family's originally from Norway, so Norwegian, and his great great grandpa jumped on a ship a long time ago and got to America when he was like 13. Like he was like homeless, he didn't have any food, anything like that. Jumped on a ship, came to America, and lived the American dream, and got a job and did well for himself. So it's listening to them talk about that, it's amazing. In the sense of like I'm proud of it, and if you don't share those things, then those things will die. So it was cool. It was really cool to get to kind of listen to them talk about that and how proud they are of it.
Where do you fall as far as, do you want to be remembered? Like, do you want your great, great, great grandchildren to know who you are?
I think I was just talking to my wife kind of about this conversation. I think it was literally yesterday. Whenever we get older, like it's no secret, obviously, like quality of life kind of starts to deteriorate as you get older, naturally. What my legacy that I would like, ultimately want to leave behind is like for at least the next 2 generations. It's really about all we get in this life is 2 generations. So, did you get to know your great grandparents?
I knew them just briefly. I mean, I have memories of them, but I was a very little kid.
Right. So, in the sense of like 2 generations is about all we get in this life. So, I really want to make an impression on my grandchildren one day and have a great relationship with my grandchildren and leave a legacy of, being kind and fun and like just somebody who they want to be around, want to talk to. But when it comes to the next generation that you're saying, like generations to come, the way that I would like to be remembered is by what I leave behind for them financially. That would be ultimately like for my grandkids, but then the next generation, that would be the goal, of course. Like I don't know if I'll be able to do that or not, but because realistically, in a physical, emotional, spiritual, relational standpoint, 2 generations is all you get. But the following, of course, I want to leave an imprint on my family, but the only way that you can really, really honest to God do that is by money. So that's just kind of true, or how I feel about it. So you get 2 generations, anything after that, they're not good. Like you'll be remembered, you'll be like there, but like you passed away, you get 2 generations. Anything besides that, the only thing that they can remember you by is really appreciate that great grandpa worked as hard as he did and was able to get us things in life that we're able to do and have a house and not have to worry about what we're going to eat, and if we're going to have somewhere to be safe. How about yourself though? What do you think about that?
I feel like it's just a weird perspective being a human in that way, knowing that we will die at some point. We will not be remembered, and the things that we do won't matter as much as we think they will. And that each moment is temporary and it's all just passing like that, rolling on like a wheel, and it'll keep rolling on without us. But I think you nailed it, actually. Just trying to make a real impact on the people that we are close to and hope that we did enough, put out enough so that people will continue to reap the benefits of our work for as long as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, like after 2 generations, that's all you can do. Like you can't, I don't know, like unless if you have a family that is really good about communicating and talking about how important previous family was. Like Emma's family is really good at that, in the sense of like just kind of keeping the memory of ones who have passed alive, which I haven't met a ton of families that do that as well as hers does. So it's been something that's been really kind of cool to be a part of and get to listen to. My family hasn't done that as much. I don't know a ton about our lineage, but I mean, ultimately, like I said, like 2 generations all you get, and make everything you can physically, spiritually, emotionally, relationally with those 2 generations within your family. But anything outside of that, moolah, baby. That's the only thing you can leave behind at that point. So
yeah. And we're at the best time to do these things that we're talking about goal-wise. Think about how many people ahead of us slept on the ground and their shower was a cold river and their food was, hopefully they shot a deer or a rabbit. And most people lived that way for the majority of humanity up until now, where we can have a hot shower in the morning if we want it, and we have a microwave that we can have a hot meal anytime we want it, and a Walmart that we can go to anytime we want it, and we can talk to each other from 1,000 miles away on a screen if we want to. So now is the time.
Definitely. And those things aren't really like promised either, like to a certain degree. Like it could be at the snap of our finger for something pretty drastic to happen, and then our world changes.
And that's happened before. Like dinosaurs were a thing at one point, and then they weren't.
Well, and I mean, even going back into the Bible, like God wiped out the whole world with Noah, flooded the whole world, restarted it completely. Like things can change like that. Like if Russia comes and bombs New York City, our world is going to change. If we get attacks on coasts, like whatever could happen, like our world's going to change. Like that is not promised to us. So, the answer to that question would change at that point. Like if our world did change, then I would want to be known differently than how I would like to be known in that sense, if that were to happen.
Oh yeah, for sure. a totally different ball game if the grid goes down or if a war breaks out, because then the things that are of value will be a lot different.
Yeah, money won't matter.
Yeah. Especially if like your phone doesn't work or Wi-Fi is no longer existent, then it's different ball game.
Right. No, like just I mean the value of whatever, like what's gonna be like if the world were to end like that, like and things were to change and it's like, okay, well, you get into it and we're at this point where money has completely lost its value. Like what do you have to offer to provide for yourself in trade to live? Like looking in my office right here, like I have my golf clubs back here just so you can see them. It's like, here, take my golf clubs and give me a chicken so I can eat it. And they're gonna be like, no, you can take your golf clubs and shove that where the sun don't shine. I don't need your golf club, but like at this point in time, I can trade those for currency.
Yes.
But like if something were to happen and change, those don't matter. What matters is resources, materials, food, firearms, things of that nature that have like trade value. Like golf clubs don't matter, money doesn't matter, my computers don't matter. It's interesting to think about.
I think the move, at least for me, is as I do grow over time, just stockpile and be more prepared than not.
Of course. And I think that like you can do a lot about that as far as like preparedness goes, more so than you even think. But like something that is important is, and I'm glad that my wife knows how to do this because I don't know how to do this, but to be able to grow your own food out of the ground and what does that look like, and be able to have those resources at your disposal where you can feed yourself and not be reliant on big companies, big corporates, like whatever it is, but being able to take these skills by yourself. Like I just got into deer hunting, killed my first deer last year, got another deer this year, and I cleaned, butchered, processed 5 deer this year. And I'm really glad I know how to do that, just in case the world were to end it, because I feel pretty confident that I could do that, not just with a deer, but with majority of other animals at this point, if it came down to that and I had to feed myself and my family.
It's a great skill to know. That's cool that you got into it. I've never killed a deer before.
Yeah, I hadn't before last year either. It's kind of a surreal thing.
How did it feel for you the first time?
Man, it messed me up, honestly. Like I'd been hunting all weekends and I'd seen a bunch of deer, but I hadn't shot any yet. And it was the last night, and it was a total Bambi situation. Pretty sad, honestly. But she comes running around the corner, and she was a big doe, and she had 2 fawns with her, and she came, and I was like, well, damn, I've been sitting here waiting for this. Like, this is the one. And she came and she had 2, and like the fawns made it real tough, but she got to a spot and I got her to stop and got her clean. It was a great shot. And she dropped immediately, which was nice as well. So I didn't have to go and track her down. But yeah, I mean, dude, like it kind of messed with me for a second because my wife was with me and she's been deer hunting since she could walk, and she was freaking out, going crazy. And I'm like, damn, I just took a life something, and it kind of hit me for a second. But the part that was like really justifiable for it was when I got up to her. I was just really grateful that like it felt like a blessing and a gift from God, that because that deer actually fed me and Emma for months, probably 7 months afterwards. So we use the meat, we eat the meat, and the feeling was at first really like not something I had ever felt before, and it was sad at first, and then when I got over the deer and got to her, then I was just really grateful. I was full of gratitude at that point.
Wow, that's crazy, man. That's a beautiful story.
It was nuts. And this year I killed a buck. I didn't feel as bad about getting him, and I've got his antlers downstairs, and he's feeding me too. So
Nice.
that was awesome.
Oh,
I got
that's
a bow.
sweet.
So a bow hunter this year.
Nice. How does that compare to with a shotgun?
We'll have to see next year. After I haven't done it yet, so next podcast, find me sometime after November, and I'll let you know.
That's
But I
awesome.
haven't done it yet. Yeah.
Nice, man. Yeah, we'll have to check in after you've.
I know. We'll see. I got it right here. It's in my office, so I just have to look at it. But I'll let you know.
Sweet. Thanks for chatting, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me some of your time. It's been great to see your face, catch up. I hope we drop some things to the audience that they can relate to. Get some out
Yeah,
of it.
totally. Well, I appreciate you letting me hop on with you. It's been a blast. It's always good seeing you, and always good chatting with you. You just let me know. I'd be happy to come back on anytime, and we can get it going again.
Sounds good, Isaiah. Thanks, man.
Always.
All right, brother. Blessings. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep. We'll talk to you soon, Ty. See ya.